Oh, yeah. For what?
Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jayo Radha Radha Kanta Radha Radha Kanta Radhe Jayo Gauranita Jayo Gauranita Gauranita Jayo Gauranita Jayo Jayo Prabhupada 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 Jayo Jayo Prabhupada Shri Shri Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Naam Sankirtan ki jai, Rup Premanande.
So how do we get the verse on it?
Yeah, I'm gonna put the verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 4, text number 12.
Can you increase the font size?
Oh, good.
Sa esha sadho charamo bhavana asaditaste mad anugraho yat Yanmam nilokan rahavutsrajantam Dishtya tadrishvan vishada anuvrattaya Sa esha esha sadho charamo bhavanam
Saesha sadho charamo bhavanam
asaditaste mad anugraho yat
asaditaste maranugraho yat
yanmam lokan rahavutsrajantam
Yanmam lokan rahavutsrajantam
dishtya dadrishvan vishada anuvrattaya
Dishyada vishwan vishadanurvijaya
sa esha sadho charamo bhavanam
Saesha sadho charamo bhavanam
asaditaste mad anugraho yat
asaditaste maranugraho yat
yanmam lokan rahavutsrajantam
Yanmam lokan rahavutsrajantam
dishtya dadrishvan vishada anuvrattaya
Dishyada vishwan vishadanurvijaya Saesha sadho charamo bhavanam Saesha sadho charamo bhavanam Asaditaste mat anugraho yat Asaditaste mat anugraho yat Yanmam nirlokan raha utsrijantam Yanmam nirlokan raha utsrijantam Drishyada drishvan vishadanuvritya Dishyada vishwan vishadanuvritya
Saesha sadho charamo bhavanam
Saesha sadho charamo bhavanam
Asidis tamad anugraho yat
Asaditaste maranugraho yat
yanmam lokan rata uttajantam
Yanmam lokan raha utsrijantam
distra dadarsham viravana ritya
Drishyada vishwan vishadanuvritya
Saesha sadho charamo bhavanam
Saesha sadho charamo bhavanam
asaditaste maranugraho yat
Asaditaste maranugraho yat
yanmam nilokan rahavutsrajantam
Yanmam lokan raha utsrijantam
dishyada vishwan vishadanuvritya
Drishyada vishwan vishadanuvritya Saesha sadho charamo bhavanam
Saesha sadho charamo bhavanam
Asaditaste maranugraho yat
asaditaste matanugraho yat
Yanmam lokan raha utsrijantam
yanmam nilokan rahavutsrajantam
Drishyada drishvan vishadanuvritya
dishyada vishwan vishadanuvritya
Saesha sadho charamo bhavanam
Saesha sadho charamo bhavanam
Asaditaste mad anugraho yat
Asaditaste maranugraho yat
yanmam lokan uttajantam
Yanmam lokan raha utsrijantam Drishyada vishwan vishadanuvritya
synonyms saha
Saha
that
that
eshaha
Esha
of those
of those
sadho
Sadho
O honest one
O honest one
charamaha
charama
the ultimate
the ultimate
bhavana
bhavanam
all of your incarnations
of
all the incarnations
asadita
asadita
now achieved
now achieved
te
to
unto you
unto you
mat
mat
mine
mine
anugraha
anugraha
mercy
mercy
yet
yet
as it is
as it is
yet
yet
because
because
on me
me
lokan
Nilokan
planets of the conditioned soul
the planets of the conditioned soul
raha
Raha
in seclusion
in seclusion
utsrajantam
Utsrajantam
while quitting
while quitting
Dishtya,
Dishtya,
by seeing,
by seeing,
the Drishwan,
Vadrishwan,
what you have seen,
what you have seen,
Vishada Anuvrittaya,
Vishara,
by unflinching devotion.
by unflinching devotion.
Translation, Stephen Greshla Prabhupada. O honest one, your present life is the last and the supermost, because in the term of life you have been awarded my ultimate favor. Now you can go to my transcendental abode, Vaikuntha, by living this universe of conditioned living entities. Your visit to me in this lonely place, because of your pure and unflinching devotional service, is a great boon for you. Please repeat. O honest one,
O honest one,
your present life
your
Your
present
present
life
is
life
the last
is the
is
and
last
the supermost,
and the
the
supermost.
supermost,
because
because
in this term of life
In this term of life,
you have been awarded
you have been awarded
my ultimate favor.
my ultimate favor.
Now you can go
Now you can go
to my transcendental abode,
to my transcendental abode,
Vaikuntha,
Vaikuntha,
by living this universe
by living this
of
universe
conditioned living entities.
of conditioned living entities.
Your visit to me
Your visit to me
in this lonely place,
in this lonely place,
because of your pure unflinching devotion,
because of your pure unflinching devotion,
devotional service,
devotional
is
service,
a great boon for you.
is a great boon for you.
Quote by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. When a person is fully conversant with knowledge of the Lord as far as can be known by a perfect living entity in the liberated state, he is allowed to enter in the spiritual sky, where the Vaikuntha planets exist. The Lord was sitting in a lonely place, just about to disappear in the vision of the inhabitants of this universe. And Uddhava was fortunate to see him even at that time, and thus received the Lord's permission to enter Vaikuntha. The Lord is everywhere at all times, and his appearance and disappearance are merely the experience of the inhabitants of a particular universe. He is just like the sun. The sun does not appear or disappear in the sky. It is only in the experience of men that in the morning the sun rises and in the evening the sun sets. The Lord is simultaneously both in Vaikuntha and everywhere within and without Vaikuntha. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Jnana-Timrandasya Jnana-Janashalakaya Chakshurumiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kathamakyam Tadati Swapadantikam Mukam Karoti Vacharam Pangum Langaya Degrim Yat Kripa Tamaham Munde Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramanand Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Mishwaram He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinamando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate Bhakta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurava Pracharani Nirvishesha Shunyavad Paschati Deshtarani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasa Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are seeing from this chapter how Krishna has got himself ready to leave this planet. He is there in the banks of the river Saraswati, and he has already prepared himself, in fact. So he has taken Achaman, he did Achaman on the Saraswati banks of Saraswati, and he was in meditation. And there is a time when Uddhava actually approaches him, and he was followed by Maitreya also. We saw that. So Uddhava was told right in Dwarka to leave the Badrikashrama. But Uddhava, he decided to follow Krishna. So when Krishna left to Prabhasa and all this fratricide what happened, and then he prepared himself to leave this planet. That time Uddhava was approaching him again. So seeing Uddhava, I was very happy. Krishna was very happy. And Krishna is in fact acknowledging that he's such a great devotee. And he would even say that in the slokas, in the coming verses later, that he was very special. Jiva Goswami also comments on that. And we also see that how Uddhava was actually one of the Vasu, sorry. So Vasus are special demigods who are in charge of the seasons and other things. And one of the 8 Vasus who was actually Amsha of him was actually Uddhava. So Uddhava was an eternal associate of Krishna. But when he came to the material world for assisting Krishna's pastime, so an Amsha of the Vasu also was there in him. So this is there in the Mahabharata, different things explained. How different personalities are actually, some of them are eternal associates of Krishna, yet, so they also are representing a specific demigod. Like the Pandavas are said to be pure devotees of Krishna, but they are also an Amsha of the demigods. So there are 2 different souls possibly inhabiting the same body, and they exhibit different characteristics at different times. So this is very described elaborately by Madhvacharya also in great detail. Jiva Goswami also talks about that here. When an Amsha of Vashu is there in Uddhava. So that's why we see in the Mahabharata, the end of Mahabharata, when all the Pandavas they decide to leave the kingdom and everything, they put Parikshit in charge of the kingdom, and then they all leave. So some of them, all the Pandavas, they reach to the heavenly planets. But according to Bhagavatam, so they all go to the spiritual world. So that's because the split personality is there. So the pure devotee who is inhabiting the body, so they all go back to the spiritual world. Whereas the Amsha of the demigods who are inhabiting the body, they all go to the heavenly planets. So same thing is true with Uddhava also. So Uddhava, so he also represents the eternal associate, and he also represents the demigod Vasu. And this Vasu in specific, he has been doing a lot of meditation and austerities to achieve the association of Krishna. And because of his austerities, he was given such an intimate association of Krishna. And he also became a pure devotee, that Vasu also. So that is what is said here. So he was blessed by Krishna himself, that he will go back home, back to God. And so that is a very important question. Here in the purport also, Prabhupada mentions very beautifully the appearance and disappearance. When a person is fully conversant with the knowledge of the Lord, as far as can be known by a perfect living entity in the liberated state, he is allowed to enter the spiritual sky. So we see this in the Bhagavad Gita also, right? So we say, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that whoever knows his activities, transcendental nature of his activities, janma karma chave devyam evam eva veti tatvataha tyatva deham punarjanma neti mahamiti soham. So learning about Krishna, understanding him in truth is extremely, it's only available, only given to very fortunate souls. So that although Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that whoever understands me, my transcendental birth and activities, they are qualified to go back home, back to God. So to know him in truth, that's the important point there. So Krishna says, whoever knows my activities of birth in truth. So to know that in truth requires special blessing of the Supreme Lord and also the spiritual master. So if the spiritual master blesses him, so here Uddhava also was definitely blessed by both the spiritual master and also his Supreme Lord also, both of them. So he was the disciple of Brihaspati, and undoubtedly he was a great spiritual master, and he gave him his complete knowledge. And he also had a close association of Krishna, and he served him very intimately, many times, very intimately. And in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita also we see Uddhava was given the special charge of going and meeting the gopis twice. So when Krishna was in the dreams, sometimes he would get up and he would he would be talking and he would be wailing, he would be crying and talking about the gopis. So when Rukmini was hearing this, she was very surprised. Who is this that Krishna is talking about? She has seen it many, many times. So then she talks to Uddhava, and Uddhava definitely tells her that this is something, this is coming from his Braj pastimes. That's when he goes as a messenger to Braj. Krishna also sends him as a messenger once, but the next one, once the Rukmini also goes and sends them as messenger to talk to the gopis, and then the pastime but don't fully recollect. They remember reading Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So one needs to be specifically blessed in order to be understand Krishna's pastimes. So especially spiritual master, if he blesses Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Landayate Kriya. So a Pangu means a lame person. A lame person can walk over the mountains. A lame person and deaf and dumb person can speak. So this is very possible only for a person who has achieved the mercy of a spiritual master. So this is, many examples are there. So lot of nice devotees, because of the dint of service to the spiritual master, they all became great personalities. Many examples can be quoted of that. So one example is one of the saints of Madhva line. His name is Vadiraja Tirtha. So he was a very great and transcendentalist. What they call as Paurishreya. Paurishreya is definitely applies to Krishna. This Aparoksha Jnana. This Aparoksha Jnana means one who has spiritual vision. So this Vadiraja, his name Vadiraja means Vada Raja. Nobody can defeat him in the arguments. So he was a great scholar and also a great devotee. So every day, Vadiraj Tirtha, so he would, his worshipable deity is actually Hayagriva, the Lord in the form of a horse. So he would have a horse gram specifically boiled and made, and then he would keep on the top of his head on a plate, in a vessel. And the Lord will come as a horse, and he would take the grains. And this used to be an everyday pastime. Of course, nobody is allowed to see that. So that's a special pastime, because he gave blessing to him that he would come every day and he would take that. So once what happened was some of the cooks, they were doubtful about the whole thing. So how is this? This doesn't seem to be right. So it could be false also. Let us test this. So they mixed poison in the horse gram, and then they gave it to for Vadiraj Tirtha. So he did his daily puja and his yajna and everything. He finished, and then as an offering, he would keep the naivedya on the top of his head. The horse, as the Lord as a horse, would come and eat it. And the Lord came and ate, and then he told him that it's poison. Already it's poison. And then Vadiraj Tirtha was, of course, nothing happens to the Lord, so he went back. But the person who did that, so they had leprosy all over the body. So and then they're suffering so much. But they forgive because they again came back and asked for forgiveness. So this Vadiraj Tirtha, the point I'm coming to make is, so he had disciples, and one of his servant was a very sincere servant. He would serve him and do all the duties with utmost perfection, with all dedication, with all devotion. But he was a dumb person. But he had many other students who were very qualified and well learned. So, but this devotee who was very dumb, who was dumb and who was deaf. So he had a great desire to learn and understand the Shastras, understand the knowledge. So obviously he was not really given any respect, and he was everybody was just treating him very badly. So a day came when Vadiraja had to go for traveling, so he had to travel out. So that time he said, so that the disciples were asking him who should be in charge of speaking on the scriptures. So Vadiraja said that this person would speak, pointing to the deaf and dumb person. And then so everybody was surprised, how would this person speak? He's a deaf and dumb person. And so he's cannot even hear. So how can he speak all these things? So but he said, he will speak, you will see. And then he left. And the next day he sat and he spoke. And he spoke a very eloquent and very wonderful explanation of scriptures. Everybody was left completely dumbfounded. So that's a good example of how someone was given that mercy of the spiritual master. If a deaf and dumb person can speak. So that is very true. And many examples of that. So how even the most unqualified person can become most qualified. So that is we see in the Sat Goswami Ashtakam also. So that doesn't matter whether they're qualified or not qualified. They are just like Jagai and Madai. They can get the mercy of Krishna and they can become the most perfect devotee. So we'll stop here if you have any questions, any comments so far. Yes.
Where is it about Harigriva, the incarnation? Because there's really, I know the name, I know that, but I've never seen anything written about him. Where do you find that?
Yeah, the Lord Haigriva comes, there are two Haigrivas. One is a demon's name and another is the Lord's name. So one steals the Vedas from Brahma and then he is killed by Krishna, he is killed by the Lord. Another is Haigriva, the form of the horse, who comes for accepting the yajna, the offerings of the yajna. This is there in the Puranas, one of the Puranas, Vishnu Purana is there.
But there's I don't think it's the same, but I think it's the Ashwini Kumars or something, where they wanted to receive the absolute, knowledge, and they were someone cursed them. I'm vague on the story, but someone cursed them, and that they couldn't speak this knowledge to anyone else. So then they arranged to decapitate the person, and then they knew the surgery, and they put a horse's head on this teacher, and he spoke through the horse's head. It's not the same, has nothing to do with our view, it's something else.
I think this comes in 6th canto.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we have the
That's
Narayana
right,
Kavacha.
it's right, it's described in one of the purports.
Yeah. So the Narayana Kavacha mantra, the whole how this so the Vritsatsura comes, before Vritsatsura comes, he's
Right.
killed by this Vajra weapon. So there's all these things there in that pastime. I remember reading it. Something.
Yeah. So that has nothing to do with our view.
No,
It's not separate.
that's Ashwini Kumar. It's very different. So Haigriva is an incarnation of the Lord.
Huh. There's so much more to know.
Yeah.
It's really not very much about Rishabh Dev either. What we have in the Bhagavatam, it seems like just that he had a son named Bharat, and so on.
Yeah, Rishabdev was a plenary expansion of Krishna, right? So he was.
But what I find very confusing is what you're saying in the beginning about that the anshas, that there's, they're maybe sometimes inhabiting the same body, two individuals. I've heard that a lot in Chaitanya Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prahlad and Arjuna or something like that, Prahlad and Hanuman and so on. And then, but just that whole concept, so that in other words, in the spirit, you can be going on with your spiritual eternal pastimes in the spiritual world, whether it's on Vaikuntha planet or Goloka or David, but simultaneously you're doing things here with the Lord. But it's not like we're the Lord. This jiva is like the Lord in the sense that they can do this unlimitedly. It's only in reference to what the Lord is asking them to do. Is that correct? Is that and the jiva just doesn't have unlimited abilities to expand himself into other pastimes and so on. He has to do it under the dictation of the Lord.
Yes, definitely the normal living entities, only the Supreme Lord can expand unlimitedly. The living entities don't have that capacity unless Krishna gives them the capacity.
Uh-huh.
So we do have the pastime in the Chaitanya Leela also, the Dukhi Krishna Das, how he finds the anklet and then he
Right.
goes and shows to his guru, and then he reprimands him, and then he comes in the dream. Krishna Radharani comes and then or talks to him in the spiritual world.
Actually, Lolita comes. She
Yeah.
tends to be an old woman.
Right.
This
So
is what I read.
she talks to him who is in
Yeah.
the spiritual world. So there is a duality. The same person is there in the spiritual world also here. So that's only possible in very, very, very rare circumstances. It's not awarded to everybody, I think. And so this Amsha is a different. So Amsha is a different living entity who has been like empowered by the demigod. It's not the same demigod who is coming in that particular body, but it's a living entity who is empowered to become with the specific characteristics. So it's not the same demigod. So they don't have the potency to be there and also as a demigod in the Swargaloka somewhere.
Yeah, well, because the one time that Indra was cursed, he gave his position to his one of his assistants. Well, he was hiding in the sixth canto.
Yes.
He was hiding in the fibers of the lotus flower from sin personified. And then that person became attached to his wife.
Right after killing Vritsasura.
Yeah.
So the sin personified was chasing him, and then he went and hid.
Which is also, that one, it specifically says that they tell the other Brahmins or the other sages tell him that Indra, that you will not receive the reaction of killing a Brahmin. That they knew that Vritsasura actually was Chittaketu, I believe. So, but he still did for 100 years have to hide in the fibers from sin personified.
Correct. Yeah, somebody else took over the Indra post at that time,
Yeah.
and he also did something wrong or something.
He got attached to his wife.
Yeah, something.
He had to take birth as a snake.
What is it?
Something like beans or banana, something.
So that Amsha concept is there in the at least the Madhva line.
The Vasus really also, I don't really, they seem to be involved a lot. They're in the whole, Grandfather Bhishma is a Vasu. They're the children that the Mother Ganga was thrown into the Ganges because they had, I think it had something to do with Lord Brahma. They may have,
Yeah, I think Ganga was there, and at least what I remember from seeing from Mahabharata is she was there in the Swargaloka, and then she was kind of lost in some thoughts of one of the Vasu there in the Swargaloka, and they both were cursed to come to the material world. Something like that. That's what the
yeah, and so this is the problem, Mahabharata, but I saw in one of the movies is that it was, what's his name, Santanu?
Shantanu.
So he went to Brahma Loka. He saw Ganga, and then Brahma noticed that for a moment they looked at each other in an amorous way, and then they were cursed to go through that pastime.
Right.
In a what kind of way? They look at
In
you.
a sort of like flirtatious way or something.
Oh.
I don't know if that's the right word, but it was inappropriate
Shantanu was also cursed, Ganga was also cursed.
Right.
And the unconnected one is the Vasus. So they were cursed to be born in the material world. So Ganga became their mother. And then, as you said,
Were
she
the-
discarded every one of them.
Were the Vasus the ones that may have, when Brahma became attracted to his daughters, or did they have something to do with that? Is that
I
the,
don't know. I don't think so.
maybe that was the sons that were killed.
So there was Brahma. He became attracted to that. Then he cast off his body and then he took
Right.
the body.
Yeah.
A lot of
Hare Krishna.
interconnected stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important here. So Buddha was very, very special. So he has such a fortune being with Krishna all throughout the Dwarka, Leela, and also while living also he was there.
So you said the Vasus, at the beginning, you said that they have something to do with the seasonal changes. So it sounds like maybe they were assistants of Indra? Or?
They were one of the few of the 33 crore or 330 million demigods.
Hare Krishna.
Any quick comments, questions? Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai,
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.